Hi everybody, Sandy here with you today. I'm going to do a process video for My Creative Scrapbook, and right now I'm working on this kind of guideline that I've got going on right now. I think I told you that this sheet with the music notes on it is like my favorite paper from the collection. The back side of it is the that one right there. So this is a really nice sheet too. I really wanted to kind of fussy cut that out, but I don't think I can really do it. But anyway, I was thinking to use a sketch that I created, like, I don't know, 15 years ago or so. And what I did was take a circle and cut it in half. And for this, I just fussy cut it from this sparkle paper. Right there, and I should have used my electronic cutter so it'd be a little bit neater, but it's okay. And then I cut it in half. So the idea on the sketch is 2 half circles and then 2 pieces that I don't remember what the measurements were, but it was something like 4 by 8, and so I could go either way here, in terms, but these are all from the same sheet. I just went ahead and cut these out. I would probably do a little something on this lighter paper, like maybe bring in a stencil and just do a little bit of shading with maybe some dress blues or, something real faint. It's already kind of busy, so I don't need to add a lot, but maybe just a little something. And then on the sketch, the photo is actually a landscape photo, and then the title's down here with some, butterflies. So my idea had been originally that I was going to scrap these photos, or one of these photos of my granddaughters a few years ago when their dad took them to a masquerade ball on New Year's Eve. And this one with the little short girl in it is probably a more clear photo, but, and I may go ahead and use it, but I'm just itching to really use yellow with this purple paper. Here's a photo of the mask that my son-in-law made, and I think he just used like a black mask base, and what he used to create it all, I don't know, but he's very crafty. His mom was very good at decorating and that kind of thing, and I think all 3 of her boys kind of got some of that talent, so I could do that. But I'm really wanting some bold yellow, and I was reminded of this photo that I have kind of in my stash that I haven't scrapped yet, and it's just more what I'm wanting. I'm wanting the strong yellow with the strong violet, because they're complementary colors. So, if you get out your color wheel, depending upon the shade of purple, which it would be this more violet tone, then, yellow is definitely going to be your complementary color. And then green and orange are going to be your triad colors. I think there's triadic. I think there's a different name for them besides that, but anyway, also that. So there is some green in the photo, and I was thinking about bringing in some green leaves, making a floral cluster here, and then a title down here. I did tear apart this flower right here because I was thinking about colorizing this one, and but I didn't want to get all of this and all that greenery back there, so I took them apart. But then I started thinking about using this and adding one of these smaller rosettes on there. The purple looks good. I don't have a true teal one. This is almost teal. And then I could make these, maybe some of these pieces yellow like that right there. And, I've kind of kept my new release and old release separated. But here's the 49 and Market Pineapple. That would be pretty good. Daffodil was the one from the first release. And so I might try the Daffodil first because it has a little bit more of an orange tone to it. If I want to change the colors on my flowers there. So that's kind of where I'm going, and I'm trying to find a title. And I was looking at this little note card has this making memories up there. So, you know, I could always put that there. It's okay if the title is there instead of there. My other choices for titles is going to come from, you know, either my stash of alpha letters or something like these branding strips. She doesn't look real happy, so I don't think I can use any of these about sparkle or, you know, happiness and all that. But, you know, this one that says growth is a beautiful process even when it feels like a painful one. I could cut that apart and, you know, put that down there as 2 lines. And that could be my title or subtitle. Or I could just take this part here, which I was thinking about, just be unapologetically you. And that may be what I do, because that's just simple. And I could take my Signa Uniball and kind of get rid of those 2 dots right there. And so that might be a title. So that's what I've got to do next, is I've got to maybe add some color to these half circles, and then probably distress my papers a little bit, trim my photo, and get it matted. And then figure out, you know, since there's a little bit of teal and yellow there, it makes sense that I bring in some yellow here. So that's probably another thing that I will go ahead and colorize that probably off camera. And then I can turn the camera back on when I work on these pieces. So that's kind of what I think I'm going to do. You know, I was wanting to get some personal photos scrap, but I'm dying to bring the purple and yellow together. So that's where I'm headed for right now. So let me do a couple things and I'll be back on. All right, everybody, I just wanted to hop back on before I really get started with the actual process video and tell you a couple things that I've done so far. I went ahead and added some color to these half circles using the stencil that comes in the kit this month. And so I did practice on a piece of scrap paper because I originally thought maybe if I went horizontally that would look nicer with the music notes. And I think that's really just a personal preference. I really like the downward appearance better. It just seemed to fit more with the whole composition of the layout. So I used the 49 and Market Ranger Sangria dye ink, which is a perfect match for this paper. And then, you know, I just used one of my little sponge brushes. I got a heavy coat of ink, but then I went really light on my application because I didn't want it to get too dark or too bold. I just wanted to add some color to these little circles. I did think about spraying them and just getting a little bit of more faded effect, but I'm happy with this. And I also contemplated using a stamp for my stash, and I still might, but this one is going to be covered with florals, I think, you know, and then this one will at least have a butterfly or dragonfly on it. You know, there's several from the kit. I thought I would put, you know, one above and one on this one here. So those will be filling in some of that space. And then I did also use my sangria with a sponge to distress the edges of all these papers. I really love the sangria color. It's just kind of hard to explain. It's purple, you know, it's violet, but it's a good strong color, and it's just really fun to work with. And so then I also went ahead and matted my photo with some paper that was around this paper right here. And I did have to kind of do some filling in to add a second layer down here in the corner, although I knew it was going to probably be covered with florals, but I went ahead and did that. And so, and then I'm also thinking about this, either, you know, tucking it up here, which I probably need to use something up there. But I thought, you know, also because that one says remember right down there, that would be something else that I could add. And then I think instead of coloring my flowers, that I've decided to use a cluster of these. And I had another one. Where did it go? I think I was going to go ahead and use that one. I did add, it's on my fingers, I did add some color from the daffodil, and it matches pretty well. I mean, it's a little bit more orange, but, you know, that one tends to be that way too, so, you know, I could tuck that in, but I just kind of like what I've got going there, so I don't know yet. I do want plenty of greenery. So, you know, I'll be adding these in. And then I've already shown you these two pictures. So, you know, they're pictures, sayings here, pieces. And so they're going to go right there. I think what I'm contemplating right now is whether or not I might want to also bring in this window from the collection, from the ephemera pack or the laser pack. I have to look. But anyway, if I put it on a light paper, then I definitely will have to put something in back so it won't just be blend in with the lighter colors, you know, like that. So I could put it here to the side, and it would bring some interest to the page, but I don't really know if I want to mess with the sketch I've got going on. It does look like she's probably sitting outside, so I don't know. I wish you guys were here to tell me what you think. I need to pull that away right there. So I'm thinking about adding that in, but we'll see. So and then I'm going to add from the laser, you know, pack. I'm going to bring in some of these feathers and some of the florals over here to go alongside over there. Like, haven't necessarily chosen this one, but, you know, just to tuck in over here on this side to give some floral balance, but not overwhelm. So that's where I'm going, but I wanted to kind of let you know what I did right there. Okay, so I'm going to go off camera again, and I think we're going to have lunch before we come back. So I'll see you in just a few minutes. Okay, I'm back. Apparently lunch is over. I'm doing my voiceover here days later, but anyway, I'm getting ready to put my half circles on the paper. I've kind of told you everything you probably need to know already, but I wanted to just fill in any blanks that might come along. Because my background paper was that dark plum, it was hard to think about how to mark it. So I'm using my rulers here to kind of see where my space is and know where to adhere them. I could have used a white, you know, gel pen or something like that. That would have been fine. But I was wanting to get everything as linear as possible, and then also kind of make sure my stripes were, you know, going lined up, because I thought more than anything, photos were going to be on top of the circles, but I wanted to make sure that the stenciling was going correctly, vertical up and down. So anyway, I spent some time getting them in place because I know they're going to be kind of a focal point. On the right hand side, I don't glue the circle all the way down to begin with because I want to tuck in that arched doorway and put that over there on the right hand side and just experiment with whether I would like that element being there or not. And I'm thinking that, I wanted to go that way, but maybe adjust the height a little bit so it wouldn't be exactly the same height as that half circle on the left. But, I just kind of play around with things and play around with the layering pieces. And, I wanted to put them, how they would look the best. And I decided to put that, Moroccan tile on the bottom of this little cluster because it's laying on top of the more solid half circle. And the arched doorway on the other pattern paper is really not going to show very much because my photograph is going to be mounted on top of it. And I've already matted my photo, but I'm bringing in a little note card to go behind it. It's kind of cut really neat. It's kind of just an unusual trim, but it really makes the piece kind of pop, I think. And so I want to put my photograph on that. It's a beautiful note card. I almost hated to cover it up. But I'm placing some corrugated cardboard behind my photograph and that element just to lift it up off the page a little bit and bring some dimension. And then I'm kind of bringing it up more towards the top than what I'd originally planned, just because I know that I'm going to be using that long title about growth, down at the bottom. I guess you could call it a subtitle because on one of the little note cards that stick in beneath my photograph says remember, and so that I'm technically using that as my title just because it's shorter in one word. And there I'm bringing in the florals that I'm kind of experimenting with and trying to decide where they go and which ones to use. And I have added some color to that little floral bit. I don't know if I had done that when I was originally recording, but I tried to do that on two pieces. One of them turned out great. The other one just turned out really soft, and I ended up not using it because it wouldn't, stand the way I wanted it to. I did have a little sponge that I grabbed some of my sangria ink just to, quickly distress all my edges, and that needed to be done right there. So I think I'd already taken it off like the distressing tool, so I just grabbed it right there to go ahead and further distress a few elements. And as I go along, I'm just using my T-square just to make sure everything is lined up like I want it to be. And there I'm just starting to build some elements, cluster thing up there above the photograph. I really don't add too much because it seemed like there was a lot going on the page with the circles and just what I end up with, florals and all that. But I'm reaching into my stash to kind of see what other things I might have, like on the left-hand side. I kind of thought I was going to use the cello piece, but I wanted to see whether that chair would work because I didn't know where else I was going to use it. And I really like that element, so I kind of had to look between my planned layouts and see where I thought I might like to use them. So there I'm just making sure everything's straight and also making sure that I'm happy with the distance between the two lines, and I want it to be not quite equidistant with that little title piece that says remember. And then I bring my greenery over, and I know ahead of time that it's going to be covering that motto or that saying, but I'm okay with that because as a scrapbooker, I know that our brain fills in the blank many times when we're reading things, and you know, I figure if anybody's really curious about what that says, you know, like they can just lift that greenery up and look around it. I know what it says, and it was something important to me where I am right now, so I just thought that I wanted to use it on this page. So I do decide to use that more dark navy blue looking flower instead of the second purple one that I had planned. And I bring in that feather that's got the purple in it. And, you know, and then I'm also checking out my little bitty flower, and I think that's where I bring in another, because I guess at that point maybe I had not dyed the second one yet, and I was trying to decide if I would have room in that particular cluster or not. One of the next things I focus on is where I'm going to put the dragonflies, because I wanted there to be 2 of those buzzing around on the page. And, you know, and at the same time, I'm kind of working on that upper cluster. And I'm bringing in some of the laser cut florals, because I want some florals on that side, but I don't want too much, because, you know, I just want it to kind of balance the florals that are on the right hand side, but, you know, not be too heavy. So there I'm bringing in also a ticket up at the top. There was 3 little short tickets in the ephemera pack. And then there I have my kind of tray that's over on the side. I had a few things from last month's kit still sitting in there. But now I'm going back and I'm ready to glue things down. I did want to bring in some texture there, and so along with the greenery, but, you know, like sisal or something like that, but I ended up not doing it. But I think that would look nice if you have some on hand, or you could use some cheesecloth behind the flowers. I think that would just make it look a little more shabby chic. And I'm sorry for this little section here where my layout got moved over to the left-hand side so much. The arm on my mounting arm on my camera had swung over to the right, and I didn't realize it. So this is the best I could do in trying to get, you know, the recording so you can view it. And there I'm using some of those teeny tiny foam dots, foam squares, to adhere my dragonflies. So I just put those right in the center of their body. So they are kind of delicate. So if this were going in an album, then you just need to be careful as far as placing it in your page protectors. So those 2 little guys are going to go right up there behind the photo. And then there I am gluing the archway down at the doorway, because I had left it, you know, unadhered for a while until I was sure of the placement. And there I'm just checking it to see if I need to lift it and change it. And I guess I'm still really trying to use that chair. But I know that I had also planned to use that cello. If it's not a cello, I'm sorry, I think it is. I have a granddaughter that plays the cello, so if she was here, I could ask. But, you know, it's an image. And I toyed with putting it straight up and down or at an angle. If that angle would look nicer, but then again, if it really is being played, then it would be more straight up and down, or actually leaning a different direction. But I do end up making it straight up and down. But meanwhile, I'm bringing in some of the more white laser cut florals and tucking them at the top and tucking them over to the right hand side. And then I want to bring in that little circular frame right there. And I do also add a circular frame up at the top. Here in a minute, I just wanted to mimic all that circle movement that I've got on throughout the page, but not overdo it. And on the left-hand side there, I brought in a tag to kind of be a background for some of these things that I'm mounting right now. And then you saw the flower and it got deleted, but the purple one is going to stay. And then the cello is going to stay. And I also had those little vases that were in the, I think, the laser cuts. And I didn't know whether to put them on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. I really kind of would have liked them on the right-hand side, but I felt like I needed a little something over there on the left, on the other side of the cello, and so that's where they do end up. I think, anyway. I have my layout in the other room because it's still where it was getting photographed. So I try it there, and I know I want to put some floral in it just to make it look more complete, if you will. And so I've already got a bunch of flowers already punched out of the laser, but I'm just looking around and making sure there's not something that I like better. I do end up cutting that package that I told you I might not, but I do because I wanted the dresses off there and something else. Anyway, I'm just finishing up with details here. I'm bringing in that little measuring tape, not because this has anything to do with sewing or dresses or whatever. It just seemed to be the right shaped element for where I wanted to place something. I will be finishing up here soon by splattering some white paint on my finished product. And I just want to mention that there are details below about how to order a kit. And we'd also love to see your work in our My Creative Scrapbook Inspiration Central Facebook group. So be sure and post there. I'm going to have my finished photos here for you in just a moment, as well as my close-ups. So those will be coming up here shortly. So I'm just putting some foam square on my little vases and flowers there on the left. And then I'm just tucking in that that last frame to get, that last little bit of circular movement coming. I want to thank you for coming by today and supporting my channel. If you don't already subscribe, please do so. And if you like on my photo, then you'll get more of my content in your feed, and it'll push it out for new viewers as well. So I do appreciate you coming by. So here we go with the final product.